My name's Clena. I'm the Business Development Manager here in RSC Conalla. And on behalf of everyone at RSC Conalla and for anyone who heard Harry speak, we're incredibly grateful to all that Rita did. This place wouldn't exist without her. I wouldn't get to have my dream job without her, and you wouldn't be able to be here and experience this wonderful centre without her. So I am not going to take up too much time. I'm going to hand over now to the main event, where Jerry will be launching his Dhearg book, which gives a little bit of Rita's story. So I'm going to hand over now, if you will put your hands together for Jerry.
Okay. Well, meet the boys, Clena. Agus níl ra agam sa couple we has a horse the Denny and Shaw. So go haraha the Clena agus an Aris I Canela. Mar Tamid and Shaw agus Corshid Falchamore rowing a leg. And we unveiled a little plaque downstairs just to mark myself and Terry O'Sullivan, who is here somewhere.
I'm back here too.
He's a good man to have at your back. So he and I unveiled a little plaque, and Harry Connolly was speaking, and he pointed out the primary role that Rita played in getting the American trade union movement, and particularly LIUNA, involved in sponsoring this. And Terry has shown great leadership on the general Irish cause, but particularly in terms of this project. But what Harry probably didn't know was it took an awful lot of persuasion to get Rita to come and support this project, because Rita, her job was in the States, and any money raised in the States, she wanted to go to Friends of Sinn Féin. She didn't want anybody else muscling in. And she would say all the time, everybody from Ireland, when they want money, they think they'll get it in America. But eventually, the first meeting, I think, was Sam and Big Harry met Rita, and they swept her off her feet. And at the end of the meeting, Harry is 6'4", he weighs 24 stone, and Rita leaned up to him and said, "Don't fuck this up." I also want to recognise Kieran Quinn, who is now our representative in North America, and the man that started the applause is Captain from Quebec, who was the bane of Rita's life. Now, I want to especially thank Brendan Brownlee, who's here. And this is a bittersweet moment. I feel it as a bittersweet moment, and I'm sure for the whole clan. There's a poignancy. Rita isn't that long dead, so we need to just be conscious of that. But Falcha, Awalya, Brendan, Arish, and to Terry, and to Frances, and to Rory, Will Alan and Sean Neil, William, Michael York, and then all the Gar Feisty. And Rita had a great pride, as all of us who are honoured to be mamos or dajos in what her grandchildren did, and she used to tell everybody what they were at. So I just want to single out Cahill, Cahill. What's she on? Summer Scheme, Cool Camp. Anyway, he got fitted for his first set of Illion pipes this week. So courtesy of the McBraddock family. And Rita would be extremely proud of that. I want to recognise a couple of people. If I leave you out, stand up and shout at me, right? So is Margaret Gadd here? Yeah, Margaret York. And Margaret got Rita put into jail the first time. And Rosina Brown is here, who was in Armagh with her. Anne Murray here somewhere. And lots of other folks. And Sue Pendle is swooping around. I just want to commend this to you. This is the Palestinian Day, so It's on your chairs. We have apologies from Pat Murray, who can't be here, from Clet McCardle, who can't be here, from Liz Maskey, who can't be here, from Mary Lou and Michelle. And I want to, if I can, is Mick O'Brien here?
No.
Right, so Mick O'Brien's not here either. So would you tell him I said nice things about him? So Mick is a friend of Rita's, and there is a squad up from that Glenageary direction. And I see an odd TD here. Who's there? Sean Crowe? Right. Who else?
Micheál McDonagh.
Micheál McDonagh and Shaw Foster. Moihu. So a couple of Chakti Dala, and there's at least one sort of suspended IRA, one suspended minister here, Connor, and other MLAs, and maybe an odd MP, and then there's also ordinary decent citizens. And then there's a pile of, and you always leave people out, but a pile of people who worked with Rita. I see Tom there, Jim's about the place, Donny Morrison's about, and I want to thank Donny as well. Donny did the proofreading for this book. So you're all very, very, very welcome. Mentioning Donny, we persuaded Rita, at least I persuaded Rita to start writing the book, but unfortunately death intervened before she got it finished. But she had a substantial first draft done, and Donny is editing that. So hopefully sometime next year we'll have Rita in her own words telling us about her life. I want to thank Novaprint. I want to thank Richard Macaulay and Shin Don Doyle, who's going to launch this. This is a very, it's just marking something. Cahimage Ave Gohan Karamak we are star. Or it's this triolas our star. Bhean a ligimage and Dhearg Hiamak. We have to tell our own story. Don't let anybody else write our history. We have to write our own history. We have to tell what our version and our narrative is, and then all the other narratives can be put side by side on the basis of equality with that. So this is about a very, very wonderful friend and a comrade. And I want to thank Don Doyle, who is going to launch this little tribute. And finally, I want to thank Rita O'Hare. Mila buejas, Rita. Go to Mila, Margaret Gilliard.
For my guitar, so now for the official launch, if you put your hands together again for Don Doyle.
I'm slightly shorter than Jerry, so bear with me. Tá lútear orm a bheith an seo aniu de seola an bhean Dhearg, lear galanta héal Rita O'Hare. Dog Rita lurg mór in héal illig, agus tá sé Jackar a credjant go bhfuil sí imethe, ach mar sin éin is minic a bhuaineann sí in orsmuointe. I'm delighted to be here today for the launch of an bhean Dhearg, a really great book and a valuable memento of the life of Rita O'Hare, a Fíor Gael and an Irish patriot. As Rita herself constantly advised, it's vitally important for Republicans to write and speak our history and the deeds of our comrades. Rita was such a big presence in all of our lives. It's hard to believe that she's gone, but she's very often in our thoughts. I have very many fond memories of long dinners in Rita and Brendan's house and longer conversations, of her getting me into trouble and out of trouble, of cups of tea in Anne's Bakery on Moore Street, of late night phone calls, collecting her father Billy to bring him to Dublin, of political advances and setbacks, regrets, good days and bad days, but a lifetime of memories of an incredible woman. I first met Rita in the late 1980s at a Sinn Féin Ordesh in the Mansion House. I had the misfortune to be standing in a queue between Eddie Fullerton and Rita, full of youthful confidence, speaking against the motion that they were both strongly supporting. It turned out my youthful confidence was badly misplaced. We were hammered on the motion. But later in the weekend, Rita came and found me to talk to me, to encourage me. And even though I was obviously hopelessly wrong on what I had said and totally missed the big picture, she wanted to talk to me about it. And over the next number of years began a lifelong friendship with Rita and Brendan. At the time, I was doing a master's in UCD, which, because of Rita, I have still not finished, where I was comparing Irish newspaper coverage of the 1921 treaty negotiations and the Hume Adams talks, and little changed in the Sindo over the years, in case you're interested. I asked Rita if I could interview her, as I'd got to know her a little bit at that stage. She agreed, but in return asked would I come in and help in the press office for 3 weeks. And in a lifetime has passed over that period. Michael Nolan in the book, it's a great read, the book, but Michael Nolan in it has brilliantly and accurately captured what it was like in the press office at the time of momentous change. Conflict still raging, secret talks, a pathway to peace emerging, and Rita was at the heart of all of that every single day. Throughout her life, she was utterly fearless, had an incredible work ethic. She was intelligent and strategic and compassionate. She possessed a fantastic, infectious and mischievous sense of humour, and her wit was fierce and acerbic for those who were at the wrong end of it. She didn't suffer fools gladly, but she was incredibly generous in her time, all of the time, in offering advice and words of wisdom, particularly to younger Republicans. And many of our leaders today were directly influenced, mentored, supported, encouraged and inspired by Rita. She was an extraordinary woman in every way. As an IRA volunteer, editor of Phobail, director of publicity, negotiator and Sinn Féin representative to North America. She excelled in every role that she undertook, but I think she was especially proud of her time in the United States, where Rita was hugely successful in promoting the party and the cause of Irish unity. She forged and nurtured crucially important relationships over a quarter of a century in her work on Capitol Hill with successive administrations, with Irish American organisations and the trade union movement. And she developed lifelong friendships with many people. And I'm going to do an awful thing by naming some people, including Terry O'Sullivan, Brian Donahue, John Samuelson, Deirdre Ferrick, Marty Glennon, Joseph Smith, Todd Allen, Kathleen Curtin, Faye Devlin, Kieran Staunton, and of course Sean and Larry Downs. And I named them all because it was the weird and wonderful thing. I knew them all really well before I ever met one of them, because Rita talked about them all of the time. And we've developed great friendships over the years since then. She had huge respect for the work that they did in Ireland and in America. She was hugely respectful of their commitment to advancing the peace process and the cause of freedom in Ireland. And she spoke about them all of the time. Rita also loved books and poetry and language, and the very living thing of language. And she was very fond of quoting literature and rolling her eyes when we weren't able to quote back. And I want to say one instance. In the late 1990s, I was travelling across the US on holidays, and I called into Washington, D.C. to see Rita. Something had happened in the peace process, and Rita was on her way to CNN to do an interview, so she bundled me into the taxi alongside her. Driving us was a man from Ghana, who'd been living in the United States for a number of years. Within minutes, she knew that he'd been an English lecturer back in Ghana. And to her utter delight, for the rest of the journey, they quoted Shakespeare over and back to each other. And by the time we reached the CNN studios, she knew everything about his life. And when we got out of the cab, they were showing photographs of their children and grandchildren. If you didn't know Rita, you might be forgiven for thinking that was exceptional. And it wasn't. There was nothing unique in that experience. That was Rita. She absolutely loved people. Later in life, she developed a real strong draw for the Irish language, hugely influenced by her grandchildren and their involvement in Dhearg. What I didn't expect was this love of An Gaeilge would also include a newfound interest in the West Belfast band Kneecap, a bit of a departure from her love of classical music. And she took the greatest of honours in quoting to me many times over the last year or two a line from one of their songs, "No fucking Aishtla RTE." For those who don't understand, ask somebody about it. I think she liked the direct language and it appealed to her, and she was fond of the odd curse herself. It was also through Rita that I learned so much about great Republican women, unmanageable revolutionaries like Maura Comerford and Sheila Humphreys, and many more. In March of last year, Rita spoke at an event for Maura Comerford. She reflected that the three women shared well over 100 years of Republican activism between them. She said, "I will never forget her or Sheila, and I think about them often, truly extraordinary Republican women." And that's how I think and remember Rita, a truly extraordinary Republican woman. She was unique, she was special, she was a once-off. She was as tough as nails, but the thing that brought everything together for Rita O'Hare, in my opinion, was love. Love of family, of friends, of country, of people. She cared so deeply about everybody, and she very badly wanted to ensure that young people would have a better future, free of prejudice, oppression, division and conflict. She was larger than life, an icon of the Republican movement, and she was a partner to Brendan, a mother to Terry, Francis, Rory and Kieran, and granny to her adored grandchildren and great-grandchildren. She was the best friend you could ever have because she told you the truth, always the truth, whether you wanted it or not. She was the most human of revolutionary. She embraced who she was. She was never anybody but herself, and that's a very powerful thing. Because in being herself, Rita O'Hare helped change Ireland. She helped change the direction of the future of our nation. We loved Rita, and she loved all of us. And that's why she never gave in, never gave up, never stopped believing, no matter what she was going through. And today, republicanism is stronger than ever before, and we're closer to the promise of Irish unity than ever before, because Rita O'Hare made it possible. And what greater legacy can anybody leave? And Bhean Dhearg is a great tribute to Rita, and I encourage everyone to read it. But I have to say, I am also really looking forward to reading how many more that is published, her uncensored words. Thank you very much.
Well, Amelia Margaret, Don, just to get a bit of golas, Dhearg couple of Gaelgary lumsa, and Bhean Dhearg, Knockwell and Bhean Rua, atá on August Dhearg Mailio. Bhean Rua is a red-haired woman. This is not about the colour of her hair. This is about the colour of her politics. So it's on Bhean Dhearg. And on that note, I just want to welcome Jeremy Corbyn, who's just sneaked in the back.
So we're now going to have a poem read by Aoife. So if you want to put your hands together.
So this is actually a poem that was written by Rita's great-granddaughter Kate, who couldn't be here today, so we stepped in to read it for her. So the poem is called Rita. Is Ian Van Lydra and Van is Crua, Tim Van Shaw Gahalin, Lina Grua Grua. Lina Firki Ganusich, is Ian Van is Klishta, when she Gaira Asim, Nervi me Cree Vrishta. Is more in Carlin she, Ban Langra, Ma Anam Cara, Chucky Arla.
Maya Van Aoife, and now I'd like to invite Brendan up to say a few words.
You're a very, very fortunate people today because my throat has gone. And I had a big long speech that I was going to keep you here for about 3 hours.
That's not lie.
But all I wanted to do is just get up and thank you all personally, everybody who came here and everybody who was responsible for this. And especially Terry, who put this together originally. I do remember Rita coming in and telling me about him, about first meeting him actually, when she finally cut through to get to meet him personally, because he was surrounded by a bodyguard of heavies, and he said to her, "What kept you so long? We've been waiting to do something for Ireland for years." Now if Rita was here now, I think she'd say, "This is cringe-makingly embarrassing." But I know her, and I know that deep down she would really have loved it. To have a commemoration for her, or a plaque for her up at the same building that was put up for James Connolly, who she thought was the best thinker of the revolutionary period in Ireland, would really make her, and to be associated with that, I think she would just love it. She wasn't here to see the results of the election, but knew what was coming. We discussed it well before the election happened. She died just before that. But everything we discussed, the conclusions we came to, all came true, bar one. We didn't realise how big the margin was going to be that Sinn Féin was going to win by. If she was here now, I think what she would say to everyone, it's time now for all to get behind the wheel for that last push because the next election that comes here is going to be the election that makes it for Sinn Féin and changes things totally. Again, I'd just like to thank you all for coming here and for listening to us. And I'm sorry I couldn't earbush it the way I intended to with a history of Rita, but just count yourselves lucky. Okay. Go on, Rita.